This segment of our Community Engagement Unit focuses on participatory decision making, which really gets at the heart of meaningful community engagement. It is only by sharing decision-making responsibilities that we can give community members an authentic voice in the context of a partnership. But participatory decision-making is difficult and time-consuming because not everyone agrees on what should be done next, or even sees the problem in the same way. This figure illustrates the dynamics of group decision-making. Often, when a new topic is introduced, we hear about some obvious solutions and the person in charge makes a decision fairly quickly. This is business as usual, and it's fine to use when the decisions being made are not terribly important. Sometimes, more diverse perspectives will come forward, and the focus of the conversation may become unclear. This is called the groan zone, and is a place you may recognize if you are familiar with the dynamics of large group discussions. Often, when groups reach the groan zone, the conversation sputters along until time runs out and the topic is not brought up again. But the groan zone is normal for participatory decision-making with diverse partners, and it can be overcome. I will discuss some strategies we can use to move past the groan zone and reach closure with creative decisions that everyone supports. To develop sustainable agreements in a diverse group, it is important to first let everyone express their point of view. From here, the group can work together to develop a shared understanding of the problem. Once a group can clearly see the complexities of the problem and the conflicting priorities and needs of diverse partners, the group can begin to generate creative solutions that are unreachable without a shared framework for understanding. With inclusive solutions identified, the group can reach consensus on a sustainable solution that meets everyone's needs. Now that we have a sense of the process involved in reaching sustainable agreements, we can talk in more detail about some of the strategies one can use to facilitate participatory decision-making. One important consideration is which participation format to use. We often default to open discussion, which is not a great way to pursue participatory decision-making. Open discussion favors the more powerful, talkative, and/or polished speakers, while excluding the voices of the less powerful and less talkative. This is not what we want. It is better to limit the use of open discussion with large groups and instead rely on a mixture of more participatory alternatives. For example, you can have structured go-arounds or round robins where everyone has the opportunity to speak. You can also break large groups into smaller groups where it is easier for everyone to share their perspective. Individual writing, followed by a listing of ideas generated, is another way to get everyone sharing. Along with participation format, it's important to clarify the goals of each meeting agenda item. It might not be that the goal is to make a decision on every agenda item. Rather, sometimes the goal may simply be to obtain input or share information. Sharing these goals with meeting participants can help to set realistic expectations and allow for tracking of goal achievement. In setting meeting goals and other types of goals, it helps to use the S.M.A.R.T acronym. The first criteria is for the goal to be specific. For example, our goal could be to obtain stakeholder input on the strategic priorities of the partnership. To meet the measurable criteria, we have to make the goal more concrete. Our revised goal could be to obtain input from each partner on their views about the strategic priorities of the partnership. This goal meets the achievable criteria, as it is possible for everyone to brainstorm and comment in a meeting, using strategies such as individual writing and structured go-arounds. Meeting the relevant criteria depends on context. Our example goal on the strategic priorities of the partnership may be relevant if the partnership is forming, but not if the partnership has a solid plan. To incorporate the time-bound criteria, you can schedule each agenda item and strive to complete it as planned. If you are new to planning participatory meetings, thinking through SMART goals can be helpful. However, it's important to remember that some of the verbiage may be cumbersome for participants who do not expect it. Also, you can sometimes lose the benefit of a more abstract goal in trying to make it quantifiable, so you have to use your judgment. To provide another example, let's consider the goal of deciding which program to implement. To make this a SMART objective, we need to improve specificity, so determining achievement is easily measurable. by adding a deadline to make the objective time-bound and clarifying that we want all meeting attendees to be supportive of implementing a particular evidence-based program, it becomes clear how we can measure successful completion of the objective. Another important consideration for participatory decision-making is how to manage consensus, which is difficult to reach with a diverse group. Use of a gradients of agreement scale can help to reduce the burden and speed decision-making, especially when enthusiastic support is not necessary. An example scale is shown here, which ranges from a wholehearted endorsement to a complete veto of the idea. The scale can of course be modified to fit the needs of the group. Once a group is familiar with the gradients of agreement, someone can quickly poll the room on a particular proposal to gauge support. To finalize decisions, it can help for a group to agree on a process for reaching closure. One example process is for a key person to temporarily end the discussion and share a proposal in writing with the group. A key leader can then poll the group using the previously mentioned gradients of agreement scale and make a decision on the proposal or decide further discussion is necessary. In summary, you can use these additional tools to more effectively engage community members in collaborative efforts and make participatory decisions with efficiency, thereby reaching sustainable agreements that address difficult community problems. In our next lecture on community engagement, we will talk about a popular participatory decision-making aid called nominal group technique, which combines some of the same concepts described in this lecture.